Namanda, 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 Namanda. Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Nice to have everyone here and there joining us for this family service today. We have a few people actually attending our service here in Alameda, and we welcome everyone who are able to join us at home comfortably here from the Alameda Sangha and from the Enmanji Sangha. And I know we've had recently a student from Pepperdine University who's found our YouTube services, and so he had contacted me. He had a project to work on, so maybe he'll be joining us today as well. I'd like to go over our service order for today. We will be chanting the Sambujo and the Juseige. So these will be our chanting portion, and concluded with the Nembutsu and Ekoku. Then I'll return for our Dharma message, and then we'll conclude our service with Oshoko. So hopefully you have the proper chants in hand, and then you can participate, and you should always have these prepared. And if you weren't here last time, the secret recipe here. When we have family services, there will either be Juseige or Junirai. Okay? Special services will be Sanbutsuge. And if we have a Shindan Chonin related service, Honko or Gotan-e, then we'll chant his Shoshinge. And then on the first Sunday of each month, Shotsuki service, we will chant the Amida Kyo. So these are our 5 main Joroshichu chants, and so we like to become familiar with each of them. They each have a different nuance, different flavor, and so rather than just doing the same chant week after week, we get to explore and explore our Joroshichu traditions. Okay, so today, Sambujo Juseige. Namanda, 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 Namanda. 主不再将軍具政府上昇が下市上運動幼少長実法仏教未証門政府上昇が利欲人少年上映主文行死具無常道一生天人死人力現代語不詳無才道少女三苦名交際集約難会議知恵言別紙根門案永息小悪道通乱前修門高僧上満蔵異様の実法日願修十期天候不言一種解放像法制空読法上大集中説法四式供養一切仏具足修徳本観念心上満徳一三概要余分無下知通乱未不詳感覚営利投資最小損志願逆効果大聖の感動国書天人当人妙見Good morning again, everyone. All right. Nice to have actual people sitting here. How unusual. So I would like to begin with the reading of Awasan. Please join me in Gassho as I read this from Hymns of the Pure Land. Their countenance, dignified and wonderful, are beyond compare. Their bodies, delicate and subtle, are neither human nor deva. Theirs is the body of emptiness, the body of boundlessness. So take refuge in Amida, the power of non-discrimination. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Namanda, Namanda, Namanda. Okay, so this Wasan is telling us about our bodhisattvas who come to share the Dharma with us. And through that, I wanted to talk about our chairpersons that have been helping us for the last 19 months since the beginning of the pandemic. And, you know, as we have switched to the YouTube format, I had a couple comments that I missed the chair people. And so, yeah, we become accustomed to having different chairpersons here to start off our services and you know, and sometimes when I first started with this, sometimes people wouldn't say anything, or others would say, oh, this would be nice for the kids. And I tell them, this isn't for the kids, it's for the adults, right? And or else they'll have kind of a smirk on their face, like, what the heck is this? And say, right, and wondering why are we enlisting our little stuffy animals to be chairpersons. And I think initially it was just to fill a void, you know, rather than just myself doing everything for the service. We're missing the chairperson and organist and all these other people who participate usually in the service. And so to fill that void, I enlisted some help to assist with the service. But they kind of grew and they kind of became a part of the service and even adding to the service. And so people, maybe some of them skipped over it, but maybe others would listen to, you know, what was the chairperson portion of the service every time we came to a video. So I thought I'd share a little bit of the thoughts that went into having them as part of our service when we did those other video services. You know, when I was very young growing up, there was a television show, Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood, right? And I never watched it. I never watched any of it. But it was very popular. He went on for 21 seasons, which is quite a long time, you know. But later, I think in my college years, he went before a Senate hearing. Mr. Rogers went before a Senate hearing and advocated for funding to continue for PBS, and that's how his show was funded, through these educational programs, of which his was one. And so he was sitting in front of the Senate committee, and one of the senators, kind of a bully personality and voice from New York, and Mr. Fred Rogers is sitting there calmly and just poised and undisturbed, just like he would be during his shows. And I thought, wow, it really caught my attention that he would hold his demeanor even at this big Senate hearing. And so he's sitting there and answering questions and providing information on why these PBS programs needed to continue to be supported and to continue to receive their funding. And so through that, I paid more attention to his show and looked at what he was doing on his little 30-minute show for children. And he talked about things, other things. You know, he talked about death. He talked about competition. He talked about divorce. He talked about war, anger. He talked about anger. So all these things that he brought up that affect us in life, not only children, but their families, everyone. So because of that kind of, I was impressed with that, you know, it kind of stayed with me. So here, I thought, through these animal chairpersons, we could bring up temple subjects, traditions, sangha interactions. And so there were different. Today we have the sloth family here that you will remember, and you know, every month they would leave and only get to the end of the room, and they would have to come back for the next month's Shotsuki service. You know, that was kind of the ongoing joke But at the same time, Mama Sloth was so impressed with the Shotsuki services, and so she wanted to learn more. She wanted to learn more. And so this is kind of being able to share appreciation of our Shotsuki services. And so their discovery reflected our own understanding of the meaning and the value and the connection of our Shotsuki services. So one person regarding the Sloth family said, I really like the Sloth family. It made me think again about what Shotsuki meant to me. And she was sharing how at first she was kind of following what her mom had done throughout the years, bringing out the Shotsuki, the Homyo cards, and going to the temple and reflecting upon the family members for that month. And so, as she learned to tried to do what her mother was doing, she became more involved. She paid more attention to what was on the cards and what the service meant, and so it grew on her. And so the Sloth family was kind of reinforcing our own practice in this manner. So we had other people, other chairpersons, there were birds that came, and the story was they were just sitting up on the wires in the courtyard and watching our temple activities, watching the bazaar happen, Obon happen, people coming into Sunday service, and such a harmonious atmosphere, kindness. And so they could tell this just by watching. So they came to service. They wanted to see what was going on inside. They wanted to see a little bit more what is causing this kind of warm, caring atmosphere. Okay, we had others. Millie and Jan were two bunnies that sat in their same seats week after week after week, and so they became comfortable sitting there, coming to service regularly. And it seems like at every temple, people claim their seats, and when someone who's not familiar, a guest to the temple comes and, they're in my seats. Now what do I do, right? And we go through this on occasion. But for Millie and Jan, they were asked, can you help us do something else? And so to take them out of their comfort zone, asking them to do something else that needed to be done. Oh, no, I can't do that, Sensei. And so, they are comfortable with what they do, but sometimes we're asked to do a little bit more, and takes us out of our comfort zone, and we go through this little bit of struggle personally, but maybe little by little we take on maybe a little bit more help with that instead of only this. And so this kind of things, this interaction happens, okay? In another example, little ones, Squeak and Kiki, and they came and appreciated, what was going on, and later they told me that they lost a friend, so they are going through a death of a friend, okay, going through this grieving process, and through that, talking to Sensei, coming to the temple, having explanations about what funerals words are, what memorial service words are, what happens at different stages of the grieving process. And so these are all things that we go through as a Sangha, but we're not really shown that this is what happens at a temple. You might become interested in Buddhism and read about Buddhism, but you don't learn about what happens at the temple, right? And through our chairpersons, we're able to share some of those things. And so some people got to recognize, this is kind of like a different message, like a secret message, subliminal message. So all these things were happening during this small portion to introduce the chairperson for the day. So recently, like I mentioned earlier, student by the name of Jacob, and he just left a message upstairs on the temple phone. I called him back, and he wanted to interview me. The college project was to look at other cultures and traditions other than your own, and to see, ask questions about that. So he was interested a little bit on his own about Buddhism, and Pepperdine is in Southern California, so he had lots of temples to be able to choose from, and other traditions, Tibetan and Zen temples, as well as quite a few Joroshichu temples we have down there. But somehow he found the Enmanji website and read about it a little bit. I told him we're all part of this Buddhist Churches of America. You could look that up too, and you can find all our temples if you are specifically interested in Joroshichu Buddhism. So we talked for an hour, maybe 45 minutes or so. And he had all these different questions, and he was asking finally, how are ways that the Shin Buddhist teachings influence or impact your life? Okay, so not just doctrinal things about Buddhism in particular, but how it impacts what we do in everyday life, right? And so here, often we hear everyday life is our practice, but sometimes our own members are confused. Well, what do we do? What is our practice? Do we have a practice? Do we just say the Nembutsu, and is there some kind of magic words, or what's supposed to happen, right? And so because we don't have a self-effort practice, and kind of to acknowledge that we receive so much from Amida already, we always receive, and to finally be able to see this becomes our practice. But it takes something, right? You don't just figure that out in your head. You try to be a good person. You learn from these dealings at the temple, where they're setting up for the next ovento, the next bazaar, or the next service. In doing these things, we work with each other, help each other, and other things in our lives we're talking about and going through, and we share everything, just like Sloth family sharing about Shotsuki, the others sharing about what's going on in their lives, going through a loss in their family, and there are others that you are closer to, that you can share different aspects with. And as you do this, you're learning about what you do as an individual, what your limitations are as an individual, and at the same time, there's this acknowledgement of Nembutsu connecting to this infinite realm beyond our own self-centered realm. And in this interaction from the realm of self to the realm of other, it becomes more and more real as we go through our lives, as we go through our experiences, okay? So when I reflect on that kind of question, how does it impact your life? We just do whatever you do, going to the store, going to the bank, and I try to be humble or respectful no matter who I engage with, and you don't really notice any distinction. But when you come from a setting that not everyone acts like that, and then you come back to the temple, it's like a breath of fresh air. This is how people are supposed to act, right? To be respectful to each other, to be humble and not so self-centered kind of sense. And so then we notice all the more what Buddhism is adding to my life, to our shared life, okay? Everyday life is our practice, and through this practice, our awareness of self expands, our identity of self expands, okay? This is our awakening process, to expand. The teachings are actualized, enacted every day, everywhere. So please join me as I read this Wasan one more time, and we will conclude this service for today. Their countenance, dignified and wonderful, are beyond compare. Their bodies are soft and fluffy, delicate and subtle, are neither human nor devas. Theirs is the body of emptiness, the body of boundlessness. So take refuge in Amida, the power of non-discrimination. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Namanda, Namanda, Namanda. So we thank all our animal chairpersons that have helped us during our video services up to now. Now we're changing into a different format, the YouTube format, and we'll explore little by little how that will expand and how we learn to utilize this new format. So please bear with us as we go through our learning process in this. And thank you everyone for coming to service, whether you're here or there at home. And hopefully you have everything as you join us for each Sunday service to have your own materials on hand to be able to participate in the chanting and everything that we do. Okay, I'd like to thank everyone who has helped us. Flowers for the Onaijin, Osonaya, Opupon setting, and everything is prepared here. Video equipment and video personnel, all these things, many things have are involved to prepare for every service. And so thank everyone. So now I will light the incense, and we here can come up in Oshoko, and please do so at home as well. Okay, so we'll conclude. Join me in Gassho one last time. Namo Amidotsu, Namo Amidotsu, Namo Amidotsu, Namanda, Namanda. Thank you for being here. Thank you.